2020 has been a rough year. You know it, I know it, we know the reasons why, we've lived it, and it's been rough. There's no way around that, and in the midst of kind of the mess that 2020 has been, we expected some pretty rough figures when it came to Chromebooks, honestly. We expected adoption numbers to go down, we expected delays in manufacturing, we expected the market to have issues, and instead what we saw was an increased number of Chromebook users, we saw plenty of new Chromebook releases, and we saw a trend that put mid-range Chromebooks at the top of our recommendation list. And so somehow in the midst of 2020 and all the craziness and all that happened, Chromebooks had a big year. And the mid-range Chromebook specifically has become the Chromebook to beat. Let's talk about how that happened. Today's video is brought to you by our growing and awesome Patreon community. You can check us out over at patreon.com/ChromeUnboxed, but there you'll find access to things like behind the scenes footage, early access content, access to our private Discord channel, and an ad-free experience over at chromeunboxed.com, both on the desktop and mobile versions of our website. Again, if you'd like to learn more, head over to patreon.com/ChromeUnboxed. So let's start this conversation by going all the way back to January of 2020. We were headed out to CES, and I was excited about devices like the Samsung Galaxy Chromebook and the Asus Chromebook Flip C436 because those were the next devices that fit into the premium category, and those, frankly, are the devices I get most excited about because they don't have as many caveats to them. They don't have as many trade-offs because if I'm willing to pay a little bit more money, I can get a device that has a nicer build quality and things like backlit keyboards and really nice displays with good viewing angles and nice brightness and fast internals and, all the stuff that I've been accustomed to getting in premium Chromebooks. Because if we look back to just a year ago when we said, hey, here are the best Chromebooks for 2019, and we look at the mid-range and high range, you kind of start seeing exactly where a disparity lies. Because if you look at the mid-range Chromebooks back then, so the $500 to $600 devices, you're talking devices like the HP X360, the Asus Chromebook C425, 434, 433, those kind of devices. Those devices at mid-range prices came with some pretty big trade-offs. I mean, there was a lot of plastic going on and creaky chassis and some that didn't have backlit keys and some that didn't have glass trackpads and tons of dim screens and poor viewing angles and just on, trade-offs. And honestly, when you start talking about $400 to $600 Chromebooks in 2019, that's just what you dealt with. And in that same vein, to get the devices that I wanted back then, we were talking about devices like the Pixelbook and Pixel Slate and Pixelbook Go, Acer Spin 13, all devices that were in that high-end premium range that delivered, honestly, the experience that I was looking for. Of the more premium build quality and all the bells and whistles that you want in a Chromebook, they all ran between $800 and $1,200, and that's just what I had come to expect, and it's what a lot of people had come to expect. And that created a bunch of disparity between the high-end premium Chromebook experiences and the mid-range experiences. You knew when you picked up a mid-range Chromebook in 2019 that this thing's mid-range, that if you're going to pay $500 or $600, here are the trade-offs that you're going to make versus how much you're going to need to pay if you don't want to make those trade-offs. So it was with that mindset that we rode off to Las Vegas and got our hands on these new Chromebooks like the Flip C436 and the Samsung Galaxy Chromebook. And to be honest, I was super impressed with both of them at the time. We get limited time at these kind of events, so obviously all the flaws that we would eventually find in those Chromebooks weren't readily apparent at the show, and it would be months later that we would find, the Galaxy Chromebook has poor battery life and gets too hot, and that we'd figure out that the 436 was a little flimsy and that the screen wasn't the best and the keyboard was kind of weird. Those things come to light in reviews. You don't see those things on a showroom floor, but that was kind of where, at the beginning of 2020, we were with like the premium $800 to $1,000 Chromebooks when we left CES. But another thing happened at CES that I wasn't exactly prepared for as we headed out there, and that was what Lenovo managed to bring to the show. And if you remember, that was the beloved Chromebook Duet tablet that tons of people have bought by this point in 2020, and the Lenovo Flex 5. Both of these devices brought a lot of great attributes to the Chromebook space at very, very low prices. I mean, the Duet was less than $300 from the get-go and has remained there, never really climbed up over that starting price point, and brings a fantastic 16x10, 10-inch, Full HD, bright, 400 nit, colorful IPS display to the table. It's a nice thin light tablet that feels great to use in tablet mode, comes in the box with magnetically attaching keyboard and kickstand. It works with USI pens. It's a bunch of stuff to offer on a Chromebook that's less than $300. So that was kind of shocking, and I was shocked at how good the Lenovo Chromebook Duet felt, but equally shocked with how good the Flex 5 was as well. We, again, didn't expect to see this one at the show, and they happened to have it, and we got some hands-on time with it, and I walked away thinking, if this thing comes in at the right price, it's going to be really, really intriguing because it gives you 10th gen processors, so you get Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5 in the package. It has an IPS screen, backlit keys, upward firing speakers. It's a convertible, it's USI compatible, yada, yada, yada. It's like, these are most of the things I'm looking for in high-end Chromebooks, and it seems like this one's going to be relatively well priced, and it turns out it was. It was $409 MSRP, and we couldn't believe it when it came out. And it stayed at that price, or has been even lower than that as long as it's been in stock. And that was the beginning of this kind of changing of the guard with mid-range Chromebooks. All of a sudden, in the $400 to $600 range, it was like, okay, with the Flex 5, if I can expect this kind of performance, this kind of look and feel, this kind of Chromebook experience for $400, why would I ever tell anyone to go buy a $700 to $800 Chromebook? If this is going to accomplish most of what they need and it feels great and pulls off the premium-ish kind of Chromebook experience, why wouldn't I just recommend this? Then we have to fast forward farther into the year when Acer brought out the Chromebook Spin 713, which is still in my bag, by the way, that comes to the table with an all-aluminum build and things like mil-spec rating, backlit keys, a glass trackpad, a 3x2 13.5-inch IPS QHD display that is just brilliant and fantastic. All sorts of ports, great internals, a Core i5, 128 gigs of NVMe storage, 8 gigs of RAM. The list goes on and on. It just did everything, and when they told us it was going to be $629, we were honestly so dubious about this fact that we had multiple email exchanges with Acer just to make sure that the model that they'd sent us prior to the official announcement was actually the one that they were telling us was $629. And once they confirmed that was the case, I was like, okay, well, we'll see when it launches. And lo and behold, it launched at $629, and that's what it's held at. And it's even gone on sale and gotten into the $500 range quite a bit in 2020. And that's just a massive amount of stuff and bells and whistles, and it creates a great Chromebook experience, dare I say a premium type Chromebook experience, for $500 or $600. And then HP shows up with the X360 14C, and it's a lot of the same. Aluminum build, just a great build quality with a great screen, and I do wish it was a little brighter, but glass trackpad and just an excellent keyboard and upward firing speakers and great internals, and it's fast and just premium feeling. And honestly, you'd have a hard time distinguishing it from something that a year ago would have cost $800 or $900. Meanwhile, as all of this is happening and these Chromebooks are hitting the market and going on sale and they're available and we're recommending them and just loving on them in reviews, the Samsung Galaxy Chromebooks having heating issues and battery issues. The Asus Chromebook Flip C436 didn't really live up to the hype, and honestly, none of us here at the office even liked it. And there just really wasn't much else on offer in the premium end of the Chromebook spectrum aside from a couple enterprise level devices that frankly just cost too much and they're hard to recommend to most consumers. And again, when we get them and we start using them, it's hard to say, oh, this is so much better than what you can get in the $400 to $600 range. That's just not true anymore. And so things started changing for me. I got the Acer Spin 713, I put it in my bag, we made a video about why it's my everyday carry, and that just hasn't changed. I will review other Chromebooks. I'm in the process of reviewing the HP Elite C1030 right now, and I'll tell you, it's ultra premium. It's great, but it's expensive. It's as expensive as the premium Chromebooks from before, and when I go home on the weekends a lot of times, I just take my Acer with me so that I don't have to unplug and pack up the HP, and I just leave it at the desk. And frankly, I don't notice that much of a difference. It's not like some big downgrade the way it used to be when I went from a premium device to a mid-range one. There used to be such a separation between that high and mid-range, and now that separation's just, that gap is just closing down and becoming very narrow between the two, to the point that as we look to end 2020, all of a sudden when we look at the landscape of Chromebooks, the ones that honestly are most interesting to me at this point are those mid-range Chromebooks. Like, what all can we get in there for $400 to $600? What all kinds of things can we fit into the package and give and deliver this excellent Chromebook experience? I can tell you at this point, at least in 2020, the mid-range Chromebooks are the ones that kind of rose up and separated themselves from just about everything else. Low-end Chromebooks are still low-end Chromebooks. They're fine for quite a few use cases and quite a few users, but they still come with all of their caveats and maybe poor performance or, kind of plasticky build materials, bad screens, that kind of stuff. But premium Chromebooks, to me, are the ones that have really lost their luster at this point in time. And where the meat of the Chrome OS market is right now in that $400 to $600 mid-range, that's where the best devices are. It's where the best value is right now, and it's interesting to just watch it happen in 2020, and it's interesting to think of what's going to happen in 2021 because there are more devices. Again, we made a whole video about this as well. There are more Chrome OS devices coming in 2021 than we've ever seen in any year prior, and so I'm interested to see how this market shakes out. What's it going to look like at the end of 2021 as we're looking back over the course of this upcoming year? It's hard to say at this point because there are so many devices coming. We don't know what price points are going to look like. We don't know about all the exact features that are going to be coming in those premium devices or in the mid-range ones either. So it's going to be really interesting to keep up with, but honestly, none of that changes the fact that 2020, by and large, was the year of the mid-range Chromebook. It's the year that despite all the other things, all the obstacles in the way, mid-range Chromebooks got really good. But guys, that's it for this one. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Go down there and hit the subscribe button and make sure and hit the notification bell as well if you'd like to be alerted when we make future videos just like this one. Until next time, we'll see you.